Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Swing Trading. My name is Mike Fairborn. Good to be back here with you. Hope you had a good weekend and had some time to look at a number of different stocks that are out there. Today, I wanted to take a look at some of the stronger stock moves that we've had recently, not just stock moves that have bounced with the market, but those that have also broken above a prior high. So, really looking at that as more like a guideline for potential support level on a pullback or just generally a strong upward move. So we're getting maybe some of these sort of swing trades, but they've also cleared prior highs. We're seeing a number of stocks that haven't cleared prior highs, and a lot of them will just end up going back down again. So we'll tap into that a bit today. It is good to be with you all and recognize many of you here. Hello to you, Riceberg, as well as Kelly. We've got Scott, Michael on board with us today. Hello to you, Robert, Chena, Oda, as well as Olga, and everybody else. Nice to have you here. I'm also joined in the chat by a good friend and colleague of mine, Brent Moores. You can find him on X at Brent Moore CS, and I'm just simply Mike Fairborn CS. Let's dive on into it, folks. Plenty to look at here and excited to get going here. So let's start off with some disclosures to get going. This material is intended for general information purposes and educational purposes only. Now, options carry a high level of risk. It's not suitable for all investors. Short options can be assigned at any time up to expiration, regardless of the in-the-money amount. An ITM option has a high risk of being assigned early. Now, a short put does risk purchasing the underlying stock at the strike price when the market price of the stock will likely be lower. Paper money software application is for educational purposes only as well. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal, and for some products and strategies, more than your initial investment. No guarantee that the execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price, and past performance is no guarantee of future results. Dividends are not guaranteed. Quick note, futures options trading does involve substantial risk. It's not suitable for all investors. We just look at the charts here, but we did want to display it anyways, just to keep things going and keep things interesting here. So with that note, let's go ahead and take a look at our charts over here. Just to take a look at the futures here too, taking a look and see what we've got. Now we've had a big run up in the S&P 500 here. In fact, let me just take that ADX off for just a second here. I was looking at that ADX, but coming up above 7,000. Now breaking above that level and sitting here. Now, to find companies that are at least, we like to say this, at least as strong as the market. What has the market been able to do? Well, it's clearly been able to take out a fairly large level at 7,000. We know that. We've been talking about that. We kind of have a lower level that we've been looking at as well. But we broke above this point, and the fact of the matter is that we could see some potential consolidation at that point, or we could just go up high. Yeah, we can continue to go up. Of course, we could always go down as well. That is really the key question here at this point. Now, oftentimes when you do have a big move like this, yes, you can see prices come back. And I was highlighting this a little bit, if you guys caught my class our discussion last week with markets and sectors, and it's similar to a longer sort of extended kind of move that we oftentimes will get in the market after long-term runs. We've got one up here that was tariff related. This one over here is really, global conflict, Iranian situation related. We saw this pullback, but to get that trend going higher, in many, many cases, you're going to want to clear the prior high. Now, of course, we did that over here as well as we took out this high, and a number of different indicators can help to keep a watch on this. But these big moves off the bottom, they will very, very often come back. Let me clear it off now. But you'll see this over here, very often come back and rest upon a prior high. And then, it can set up strength for an extended run to the upside. It doesn't have to, but this is a sign of strength. What is interesting is we just don't have a ton of market participation right now, but we are seeing some strength in the general market, and a lot of it can, I think, hinge upon earnings and earnings related events. If earnings are good and strong, that can be interesting. Oh, a number of analysts had stated that there was like an 8% plus 8+% increase in expected earnings in Q1 for the S&P 500. Now think about that, 8+%. And what is that? That's a year over year number based on this guy right over here. Now, this is obviously the first quarter. And just to change colors here, this was obviously the first quarter numbers we're getting right now with earnings. The difference, 8% expected. Now, it's expected increase is what a number of analysts were saying. We don't know. I mean, those numbers can change, and there can be different analysts out there as well. But you kind of like to have at least some support behind us as we're looking for potential strength going forward in these companies, right? We'd like to see that strength kind of be there to be kind of supportive of strength going forward, especially when we see this kind of this kind of volatility that we've seen in the S&P 500. Let's say oil. Now, with oil coming back, sometimes I'm just saying, sometimes you might get even if we start to come back down again. This is a 100 number. Sometimes you might bounce back a 50% level. You can kind of suspect that maybe the market would pull back if that were to occur. We don't know if that's going to happen. We are up a little bit today. It's just kind of wide open. But just looking at it technically, if you saw this, yeah, we might see then that pullback in the S&P 500 coming through here. And maybe we'll see where it comes and will it continue or not. But yeah, it is somewhat similar to what we saw, on this sort of a rally over here, sort of a pullback that did, by the way, it was sideways for quite a while, right? But there can be a number of interesting stock setups that can come up over here. So the question is what kind of swing trading can we do over here? We've got some reviews to take a look at some recent stocks that, yes, you might have imagined they did pretty well with this measurement gap here in the market, right? That's a measurement gap. It fulfilled that. We're up a little bit. Another reason why we could pull back, perhaps. We'll see. One area, though, just to keep an eye on that has been moving, DJT. Have you guys seen this? The transportation area? Transports have been strong. Now think of transports here with me. You got the freight lines, you got the airlines, right? They're transports. It doesn't have to just be, packages. It can be people, the airlines as well. There's an ETF for that. And then in addition, there are also let's see, the biggest one, I guess, well, one of the bigger ones, Union Pacific. Now, that hasn't run up much yet. It's still kind of just holding in this range and kind of potentially flagging. Some of these have gone up a little bit, and they're just kind of holding here. We don't know. I mean, there's a long upward trend. It was coming off highs. This is clearly a higher low scenario over here. The question mark is, well, what do you think? There are earnings, but we'll see what happens over here. I don't know. The price of oil is interesting. They're getting a fair amount of oil too from, my understanding is they're purchasing it now from Venezuela. And so we might have a lot of additional means for our transports here locally in the US. This has not really been that affected aside from that initial push, with oil really shooting up, and you can kind of see a number of the transports, but we came down to prior highs. So just park this in the back of your mind because the whole group, it's a sector, really, a subset of industrials, but transports, here's another one, just broke up higher, but transports nonetheless, is what I was going to say. So this is CSX. You can come over here and just take a look at this anytime. There are your fundamentals. Rail-based freight. These have been holding up. Now, behind the scenes, we have a sector, really a breakdown of an industry, not really a sub-industry, but a clear industry of transports that are going up. They've shown some strength, and that could be a positive lift for this as well. Now, do you guys see here with me the potential for what maybe, it would really be an extended flag pattern, but we're just barely getting at a T1 right now. So the question is how well do we hold up around earnings on these transports? Because many of them are showing us this flag type pattern. And this is the flag I'm talking about. This is a bigger one. That would be absolutely a possible pull, right? There's the bottom. We measure this up, comes up to a big round number up there. 50 question mark. Will we get 50 or not? That's the question. Can we reach 50? But these particular transports, I want to keep an eye on because they are just breaking above the T1. And again, we're getting above that level. We're showing strength. Remember what we said last week? The small within the big. There's the small within the big. Look over here with me. There's the small, if you can spot it. I just zoomed in to roughly, well, not quite a 6-month chart, but it's a little bit shorter term. You see it right there? We don't have to do anything, obviously, ahead of earnings, but that's the extent of that little move. Now we have a larger move at play, perhaps a larger sort of a flag, which would be somewhere along these lines. I should have done this in a different color. That's okay. I'll still move it over and we can always do this too, but there you go. So that's all. Actually, no, it's, look how similar those, look at that. They're darn near the same. They're darn near the same. Earnings could play a key role, and that's one of the challenges is we got earnings right there. But like we said, the push has been a positive. Do you see the double? I'm going to highlight this just in case. So there you go. I said 50. I was way off. That's why it's important to just put a mark in here and note these across, but it's closer to that level, and this is closer to this level. So right in here, what does that represent in terms of a trade? And are there ways we can look at this? We'll start off with this one first, but from where we're at about right now, I'm just giving us a general view. That's about 8% or so, a little over 8%. Near that target. Let's just say real close to 8% from where we're at right now. And we can look at a couple of different things. So I'm kind of, we want to kind of look into some of these maybe today because we're playing on that sector strength that have been breaking above in one of the stronger areas. Quick note, Delta, UAL, AAL, they haven't broken out yet. Not as strong. And they're actually a lot more sensitive to petroleum as opposed to the others. You got like companies too, like, well, let's look at this. FDX, FedEx, breaking new highs. UPS, not quite. ODFL, the actual transports themselves, ODFL, Old Dominion Freight, breaking higher as well. Okay, so a few to look at. I just wanted to plant a little bit of a seed. I'm gonna jump back into this pretty quick, but for now, what I wanted to do was actually jump in here and talk about some of the trades that hit recently with the move. This was a couple of weeks ago. We did the HPE, if you guys will recall. That one hit today in terms of the flag pattern. Okay, I don't know who was playing this in the paper money account, but that was the flag we'd measured. These sticks were still in place, but you could see it right there. Kind of a pennant type pattern. HPE. We also had this eBay that just hit the target right up here. You could see actually yesterday, a lot of times when you do get that flag, and this was nice, we were hoping to get that as we were talking about this last week. We were hoping to get it ahead of earnings. That was kind of the expectation as we looked at the measurement of a move and a move here. By the way, do you see the longer one? I just love to do this because it is interesting. Let me just measure this longer term potential flag. Right. Yeah, I'm going to use this first leg up. Let me just see where this one comes in. I think we hit this one quite earlier. Notice they were close. This is your long term right there. Let's just cover it over in blue. That's the long term. The larger flag, that is the shorter term flag. We went with the shorter term and we hit it. But it is nice to see the long one developing and then the short one, kind of like that CSX and some of the others as well out there. It is interesting, but that one did hit from last week. And then we have this one. Now, this was a strange one because depending upon where you put the stop at, we've only got one leg coming up there. That's weird. Okay, we had done this right here as a swing trade setup right there. Remember what we talked about last week too? Very, very important and a key highlight was we were taking out ranges. The market's taking out ranges. We want to see those that are also taking out a prior high as well. It hit it. There's something interesting we were doing. I thought we'd put maybe a couple of different scenarios on our potential exit point. But we had a stop close to this level. Generally, I'll put it below the range. We only had 10 shares. By the way, on eBay, that ran up just under $5, but we only had 50 shares on that one. So it was 250. It was about a 250, just under a 250 gain because it wasn't quite a $5 move. This one was simply only plus 10 shares. It was an expensive stock, but it's sort of unfolding. The problem here is this earnings. So let me ask you guys this on this trade, and I'm just curious what you all think about this. Do we, I'll just put it, you know what, it's better for me to just do the poll on this. We can continue on here in just a second, but I want to get the poll out here. Um, do we, or exit now? Do we hold longer or do we exit now? The reason uh, is because we've got the earnings coming up, and that the whole idea here was to try to get the move before the earnings came up, and this one just kind of dragged this week. It didn't do anything like this initial swing trade right there. It didn't do anything like it. I mean, this was just like directional. If we'd have had that this week, we'd already been almost at our target. So I'm just curious about it. I would say this. Let's put this in the context. You could look for a few more days. The problem is if it goes back down, you could lose it. Earnings could be volatile, and we've been kind of waiting on this. This is technology. Technology can be volatile around earnings. There's no doubt about it. This isn't like, well, those some of the low betas and some of those like other companies we looked at previously, Rails. I mean, they're not nearly as high beta. So let's see if we can get at least 30 votes on here to get a main size, a sample size to maybe fit the bigger group. 30 might give us a fill, but I just want to explain the risk. The other thing you could do too, sometimes we have looked at is to do this. Just take an exponential moving average or a simple. We've gone back and forth on both, but here is your 10, and let's just set it up. We can see it clearly. I'll just go 2, and we'll make it a little bit dashed so you can see it. And this can be a guide as well, and it should help to keep up with the price of this move. Exponentials can be a little bit better when you're looking at faster moving stocks, technology type stocks, they can. But watch this one closely. Watch that, okay? Because, um, you know, even if we were to pull back here tomorrow, you're losing nearly everything that you had to get that number. So I don't even know. I mean, that's just kind of tight. Anyways, it's not as tight as the move, because right now it's really strong. The other thing is too, you could take off 5 shares and leave 5 on. You know, take off half. Just as an example. All right, let's clear that out. I'm seeing some exits here. Let's see, how many did we get to participate? We got 37. Thank you all. Really good. There's a hold, there's an exit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and exit this. But the point I wanted to bring up is that you can take off if in fact you wanted to. Just, you know, I'm just saying, in any position that's running, you could take off. You got 10. Just kill 5 of it and let the rest run over here. But you still have to be watching it and other things, things along those lines. Notice this moving average here too. You know, I'm going to come down here and just click on create alert. You can sort of set up alerts around this level. And by the way, if I go to study over here, you know, there are moving averages, and we could set up an exponential moving average too, so that it would give us an exit. Do you guys want to just, I'll show you how to do that. I'll do that. By the way, you got to make sure that the notification is set at mobile right down here. Keynote. Okay. But I'm going to just do this right now just to show you, because we have to kind of build a little bit of a script to do it, but it could be very handy in something that's moving quick if that scenario unfolded. I'm going to click on edit right here. We got to add a condition in here in Condition Wizard, and we're simply just going to say when price, and it's going to be, where are you? Closing. Normally it has at the top sometime, but crosses below, so it's an action item. Study, we'll set up the exact same one we did. Exponential, you have to just type in EXP, that's your moving average there. It'll make it different. We did the 10 right there, and we're just going to keep it right now. So a close like right now during the day, boom, it's going to hit. If it's trading today, if it hits that number, it's going to give us an alert. Okay. So I've got this set up. This is real, straightforward. Many of you guys are familiar with this. We talk about it in the ThinkScript class on Thursdays, but I just want to show you that crosses below. That's the key point. What crosses below? Price crosses below exponential moving average. We can be notified via text message or via email or via sound on your computer. I just elect text message to do that. Let's click save, create. Okay, the conditions are there. Check if all the conditions are met. Create and study is true. Okay, we could put some notes in if we want. There we go. So we do have, and I'm going to double check this and make sure everything's good. Uh, it's under Market Watch, alerts, study, STX, moving average. It's active right now. Okay. Now, some quick notes on that when you are setting up. Anytime you're setting this up, uh, create an alert. The notified down below has to be triggered or set up right here. Okay. You got to get this set up. Send push notifications to mobile device or email. To set this up too, go to setup initially so that you have your email address or let's say a cell phone in place. Go to setup application settings and then just go to notifications and then it will set you up and then you have it for good. But yeah, you're going to want to read a few things in there just to be mindful of it. In fact, speaking of reading a few things, let me just state this about alerts. Alerts aren't guaranteed to be delivered or delivered at any specific speed or time frame and should not be used as a replacement for actively being aware of your positions. Now, have I had any issues with alerts? I have not. I've been doing alerts for years, but we're just stating that, yeah, it's just not guaranteed to go through. So anyhow, just a quick note. Want to keep that in mind. Um, all right, let's do this, folks. Now, coming back here, I wanted to state too that there are some other breakouts in other areas as well. Now, is this a breakout above high? I'm going to look at this one first. No, this is network appliance. We'll clear that line off for just a second. In fact, I'll just take the study out. There we go. Here's NetApp, or Net. It used to be called Network Appliance. Now it's NetApp. Here is the break above this range, and you can see there's some interesting strength. Now, could this be one to keep an eye on? Perhaps. Maybe it's a reversal. It's a little bit like, it's sort of a bottom type formation, and the type of bottom formation I would call this, everybody. I don't have a fancy word for it, really. Nothing too fancy, but this would be the semi-fancy word, a triple bottom. I've actually, well, okay, we hit that bottom too. Let me go down. Not exactly, but yeah, like a quadruple bottom or a triple bottom. That's interesting. And then we break above the top. What do we have on this? How do we measure these? Key point, measured move. Just want to highlight a few of these that are out there right now in the market. I'm going to choose the one that has the most touch points, and I'm going to call that number about 95. This is about 107 or so, probably 107.5. But there you go. We take this range up here, and all we're simply doing is, taking the difference here and then two more. That would be the target. And look at that, right there to a high. When do we put something like this on? Well, we can put it on. I mean, it's this big run. So what do we do when we've had this big, massive price move? Okay, it's a really big bar. Have we lost something here? Well, maybe we did. I mean, we didn't gain, did we? We didn't gain. We didn't own, not in this trade, for example. We've lost a lot, but sometimes these will come back down and rest on prior highs. One thing that when you do sometimes get a really explosive move off the bottom like this, it takes time for that option premium to adjust. Every time, no, but sometimes it's a little bit delayed. So one thing I'm going to do is just highlight one option set up. Believe me, I haven't forgot our rails, but I wanted to hit just a couple of these that are breaking out like right now, um, today and just highlight a couple of things. Now, here's May. We've got only 20 days left to expiration. And if you look at the options, I mean, they're okay. And that's just like a key point that you'd want to keep in mind. Now, because we might not, necessarily put a trade on here, but I wanted to highlight what we could be looking at. Okay, first of all, open interest, it's in the hundreds. It's not that great. It's just kind of so-so, right? It's just, and the spreads here aren't that great. This is getting close to 2 million shares a day. It's got a pretty good volume for the stock, but you never really know over here. That's a 50-cent wide with the 22 delta, which is a lot of times, what some traders might look at, an expectation of 22. A delta, again, just represents a $1 change on the increase of the underlying stock itself. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes traders could shoot for a middle range here, whatever the case might be. But what would that be doing at 105 or 100? I've got some other stocks to look at here real quick. But let's just say 105, 100. Could we possibly try to make some premium, some income over time if it does consolidate? Because it would still be profitable down here. Let's just say all else equal. We know that options could be assigned at any time, short options, but we're just stating that there still might be that potential because if we're selling at a lower price, we might be able to collect something there. Now, some might do it early. Why would we do it early? Why would we do it early? Why not wait for the pullback? Well, there are two things coming on here. If we got a pullback here, some might say, okay, that's the perfect time to sell this or sell this put. But, and really think through this, when we've got 24 days left, that option premium is doing one of these things. It's getting close to, not quite to the cliff, but we might be over here somewhere, like right over here in terms of the time decay. That's what I'm drawing. In case you didn't know what I was drawing there, that's the decay of that option. So sometimes traders will even get it up towards a high range because the decay is so strong and you're like this, you're tick, tick, tick. You see what I'm saying? I tried to line this up anyways, the best I could, but it's just like tick, tick, tick. And by the time it's pulled back here, these down here might be already profitable because we have so little time left in the month. So I just wanted to park that out there for you, just so you understood that some will do it on breakouts. Some will sell that before they're waiting for a setup, before they're even looking for the stock. It's just a way to maybe participate a little bit early. Okay. It is in the oversold range. Yes. JV, good catch. Good catch. And by the way, RSI, sometimes it'll show strength too when it's up there. A lot of times I just put it in the context of what's it doing over here? What's it doing over? Watch this. We'll do it straight. What's it doing over here? Are we breaking some highs? Yes. Could this be a potential turnaround? It could. This was a longer term pullback, but these are some of the short term signs you do like to see. But short term, you're right. So it's just kind of a race to the finish sometimes with that time decay. I mean, the finish being options expiration. And all I'm really getting at is that if as it goes down, it's also losing theta, and that theta is also ramping up relative to the value of that option. Okay, I wanted to get that off my chest for a couple sessions now. I finally got it off my chest to explain that with you guys. Now, this one is not overbought. Right, JV? I mean, it's had a run, but this here is Ralph Lauren. And Ralph Lauren 2 is in that mode that we're referring to on some of these trades a little bit more in terms of what we're looking for. We were looking at pullbacks, yes. We were looking at rallies, true, but also the breakout. This one is actually a little bit of a longer term. If you can see it right there, it's a measured type move. And it is close if we're looking at that 320 to 380, literally that range over there. About 60, roughly 60 points. Not exactly 60, but I'll just put like approximately a 60-point move. That is not a good look at 60, but there you go. So if it runs, could it run? We have a little bit of time. Options would expire before earnings. So let's take a look at this one. This is going to have, I think, just looking at this chart, doesn't have a big beta. Not relative to these, well, it's showing a bigger beta. I guess these moves over here. Anyways, it's an expensive stock, but there you have it. So we did break above and we did bounce. We did break up above again. Okay. Could be looking at options here. Perhaps. Perhaps. We could also be looking at a breakout. Now, what might we be wanting to see here and now? I'm going to zoom in on our 30 minutes. We always like to do this for additional time, multiple time frames here to kind of get a feel because it's a difficult one to see on the daily chart. Now, look over here with me. That was where our prior daily highs. We broke above this range. What do we really want to see over here? This is kind of a flag. Sort of. It broke up, broke down, but ultimately, you know, is it going to bounce off of a level down below here and hold? There we go. Or is it going to break up? That's the real question. We're looking for some real strength to come in. A lot of times we want to give, I mean, traders might want to give it an additional day or two because of this. It's just a lot of sideways action. It's deciding if it wants to break out or not. But this could be interesting. Back to the daily now. What are we going to get over here? What kind of a move might we need to see to kind of show us an indication? By the way, when this breaks out, it's not really that strong. It just kind of goes up a little bit sideways. So this is really, you have to really break these down. And I do like to use those multiple time frames to help out a little bit. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to put an alert, not on the daily, but on the intraday. And this is something that could be done regularly, just on other sorts of trades. This is kind of the top of that prior range. You can see the highs over here too, and down here. But we're really looking for. This is what I'm. This is my point. We have not yet broken above this level and held. Not really well. We still break below. We break below. At this point, we've got to get above here and kind of hold a little bit, 30-minute. So my whole point here is to do this. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, give me an alert when we start to break up above this level so we can check it out. Breakout. We're giving it time too. So exactly what we wanted, additional time. All right, last one before we jump back to the others. There we go. So here is Caterpillar. Now you can see this. This is a little bit different. Breaking above the prior highs, and we're just kind of resting there right now. And then what are we seeing on an intraday? Starting off with an intraday first. Possibility of a bounce here. We shall see. That's the move on CAT. Now, it doesn't look like fantastic over here. Look at this. I'm going to pull this down. That was an earlier swing trade that we just didn't get. Now, I don't think it was, I think it was in a different class. Yeah, in fact, it was in the markets and sectors, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to remove that guy. That was a strong pull, but yeah, oil came in and dipped, and there we go. So here we are again, short term. Now, this is a little bit different in the sense that we did break the high. We're up again, and now we're holding above. Just exactly what we were looking for on maybe something along those lines for Ralph Lauren. We have a measured move range, but we also have to the top here a bull flag pattern mini, bringing us close to 900. We did clear on the mini now. Our focus is the mini because we're looking at the present. Let's really zoom in on this. If I can get it. There we go. Actually, let me just start this over. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So that is the mini right there. The mini flag pattern setting up. You're pulling back and you're really holding near those prior highs right there. There's no doubt about it. We're holding it and we've begun to bounce. T1 target met. Okay. Look how tight we can make this now, this potential stop order. Okay. We know, well, here it is. We've just bumped it up. So now you can see it. Back again. Here's this move. 30-minute. Okay. Back to the 30th, which is right over here. Excuse me. This is the bigger run right there. There's the flag, and we're just getting going right here. So to be a little bit more precise, We just closed above the high of the low of this bar, and now we're right here. Now, did it follow through? No, but we can watch this, and I'm gonna keep this fairly tight. We're only gonna use like 10 shares on this because it's so small, but I mean, it's so expensive. But I'm gonna move this up here, and we'll set this target in a little bit. But I'm gonna just go put this down about 799, just below this point. We just broke this downward sloping trend with that hold, and let's set it up. Here we go. So ask by custom OCO bracket. Again, I'm going to go into my 10, not 100, but a 10. Tab on through. Okay. Now the limit will be substantially higher than this, but I'm just going to put here for now. Watch, I'll just do 850. Look how tight that is since we're using that on a shorter term basis. So 799. Okay, just below that level. Let's do confirm and let's just take a look at this. So we've got our limit to the upside, stop to the down, and a 10 share. Okay, got all our information there. I'm going to send that on through right now. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to pull this down. You can see the stop lined up pretty good, but in our 30-minute chart, back it out. Oh, not even loading. Okay, daily then. Daily's there. Oh, I know what was going on. Sorry, I need to flip this back out here. Okay, so we've got this in place. Now, this was our original. It's a longer term target. Could there be shorter ones in here? Yes, there could. I mean, some traders could say this. I mean, especially if it was a little bit, precarious or the move. But here's a run like this, and that they could say that this would be the swing trade comparison, something in here, as opposed to the longer term move. So again, it's nice when you have maybe a couple of patterns developing. Let me do this in yellow, a little bit longer over here, just sort of eyeballing it. That was closer to our 900. For this one, I am going to set it up a little bit tighter, but that's a way to try to participate in that breakout right there. I'll set this up just differently. Here we go. All right, so here we go. Here is this leg off the bottom, this leg off this bottom, putting it pretty close to that level, or this here. I'm going to go shorter today, but some might like to do this different on this paper trade. But there you go. It wasn't actually quite the 900, and that's why I go through and set these up. But anyways, I'll just put this about right there. Oh, didn't move. Okay, here we go. We'll see if we can get this to power on through at this point in time. But a lot of things can affect this. That's why we did go shorter term, and we set that stop up, okay? So we looked and saw if it was going to hold that level or not. A lot. I mean, that's what a lot of traders will look for. They'll look for this move coming up. And then when you break above here, they're looking for signs for that right there, okay, to get moving. Now, obviously, nothing's 100%, but we took a look at that one. Okay, back to our CSX. I want to look at UNP real quick first. Notice that UNP, a little bit sideways, but we've got that earnings announcement. CSX, earnings announcement real soon. A couple of potential flags with about an 8% number on 8% return up to these levels. I don't not say return, but an 8% difference between where we're at now and reaching those targets. Okay. Now let's pull this over right now. It's a little bit tricky in the market. Some like last week we had a lot of really interesting swing trades. I sent a couple of tweets out on that too, but just in general about how many flags we were getting out in the market. But from week to week, it's a little bit challenging, a little bit more challenging. But this did break above some of the prior highs and is now resting on those. I think for traders looking at more, let's say, put it this way, more indications, perhaps, if they look at that, of a potential follow through, they're looking for those highs. Now, the question is can we hold it post earnings? So this is the big question. Do we do it ahead of earnings or not? One of the things that some traders might do, we'll do this today, is if they were going to buy 100 shares. Now, we know the trend's up and it could be a positive thing, and maybe there's some indications that it is going to be positive. But some traders would split that in half. Instead of doing 100, they're going to start it off with, divide it by 2, and we'll just say 50 shares. It's ahead of earnings. If it goes against us, it only goes against us by the 50, not the 100. If it goes higher, we've got the 50, and we could also add a 50 to reach our total of 100 shares. So there is maybe some trade management or some trend management here that could be utilized on a run like this. Let me show you something. If we did that right now, we know where our potential targets could be if we're using a flag pattern here. What about the exits though? I mean, it really depends. It's getting closer to a 1-to-1 if we let it go. But the thing is if it goes against us, and this is another thing on the stop orders around earnings, right? I mean, if it does gap lower, that's another kind of an issue. Have we seen a lot of gaps on earnings? Well, let's see. Not really. No, no, no. It doesn't mean that we won't. And you can go back further and take a look. The last three, no. It's not as gappy like maybe a technology stock, at least from what we're seeing right there. But it could be others, you guys. So keep that in mind as we set this up. Okay, just one second. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, here we are. So let's do this. Let's do the first one. And on this particular trade, do we want to let it go all the way down below, or are we maybe looking at maybe a halfway point? A halfway, like somewhere between here and here, below the most recent lows, or basically we're wanting it to kind of hold this range, but maybe a potential exit level somewhere down through here. I'm definitely looking at like the prior days, you know what I mean? Like right here. So that's a prior day low. Today's low, prior day low, another day's low. If it starts to break those lows, it might not fit perfectly. So what we could do is the following. Let's go ahead and set those up at about 42-ish, and then we'll leave the target because we got a double target range about right there. I'm going to go with the lower one, maybe about 46.50 in that range. So let's click on this. Again, just doing the 50 to get us going, the 50, the initial 50 shares. Could look at more if it breaks after earnings, but this is just a way to manage that trade. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's set this up. 46.50 is what we said was the cat trade. And this one about, yeah, right in that range, actually, 42.30 range. Okay, so let's click on confirm and send. Let's take a look at our order, confirm that we're good with what we've got, and send that on through. Okay, that one went through pretty quick. Okay, so there's our target, and that's kind of the general setup, the range up top. That, folks, is taking advantage or trying to trade that initial run here or this one to the upside with these indications. And that is really the focus. Folks, if you got value out of this presentation, you got some insight. We did look at multiple time frames and others, but smash that like button if you did get some insight there. Give Brent and I a follow on X as well. We always like to say too, please follow us if you're not already following us on Trader Talks. Here's that link. And if those of you that are not watching this live, just go to the Trader Talks channel and you can subscribe to our Trader Talks event and get these great playlists in here. A lot of great stuff by my good friend Brent. Wow, he's got that top row pretty well lined up. You got other coaches down through here as well. But folks, hopefully this was helpful. Again, today, talking about the strength of the breakout. We really, really did want to focus in on those that were strong enough to get above the prior highs, kind of like the market, not those bottoming, but showing enough strength to get high enough, tying in flag pattern projections and others. We did a measured move, but then also ways to keep a watch on these two. We used some trade management techniques, and we also, like I said, used a little bit of multiple time frames. So we had it all today, and sometimes when it gets tricky out there, you could do that. But yeah, any of these yeah, different approaches, yeah, something to look at. Okay, everybody, have a fantastic rest of the day. And oh yeah, thank you, Janelle, and others in here. Vic is JV, and others, Kelly, Barb. You guys have a great rest of the day. See you next time.